live stream started here on YouTube as well to have everything set up and ready for when you guys hit it off.
Sounds good.
There we go. We're also live on YouTube. And we can give it another minute for people to join in, and we can start on the hour. And
Awesome.
as always, guys, we're gonna be locking chat. We're gonna post all the socials there. There's gonna be some opportunities towards the end. If you have questions, raise your hand. We'll try to get as many as we can in. So sit tight.
Sorry, guys, I'm dealing with some technical difficulties on my end. I've been trying to sort it out, but I think it should be good to go here in just a minute.
How you doing, Noah?
Hey, what's going on, Adam? How are you?
Dude, good. I was just telling him, man, it's been a second. Love to see you guys are doing great.
Yeah, likewise, man. Someone's Telegram messages keep going off. If you don't mind muting those, good for the quality. Yeah.
Do you still hear it? Did you hear it just now?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Yeah. Let me make some adjustments then. Let's see. You think with this much time on Telegram, I would know how to specifically turn off sounds, but oh, I found it. Here we go. I think so.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I think we got it sorted out though. I don't hear it anymore.
Yep. Just changed on my end if it was me. So.
All right. Good afternoon, Whale Point Talk community. My name is Noah. I'm here today with Adam, representing the Orlando chain ecosystem. Adam, before we get started, do you want to give us a quick background of yourself and how you found yourself working in the crypto industry today?
I would love to. And I think I share a commonality with probably quite a few folks here in that I really got interested into crypto about the summer of DeFi, about 2020. I knew about it like back in 2017, but I didn't really know anything, if you know what I mean. Like I knew of it, but I didn't know the depth, right? And then fell down the rabbit hole, as all of us in one way or another have eventually done. The tipping point when you can't go back, right? Decentralization is everything, and then you just fall down that rabbit hole. That's really what happened to me in 2020, and I got absolutely just in love with it and learned about DeFi, learned about projects that are launching on chains, the Binance Smart Chain, and so on, and other ones as well. And from that, I became a marketing manager for about 4 different projects over the span of about 2 years, and that brought me to what I'm doing now. Primarily is I actually do spokesperson work for projects that approach me. Especially recently, I've been very cautious of that because it's a lot of fun, but also there's a lot of inherent risk at play, right? Like, not only do you have to make sure the projects are good, right? Because you want to be able to be passionate and speak about it, but also you want to make sure you're doing right by those listening and by those potentially investing based on what you're talking about, right? There's some responsibility there. So what I started doing was, not to go too off on a tangent, but I've started requiring video chats with every single project that I represent, which I think is really important to me. I've had to turn away probably 60% of the projects that approach me, but the ones that are willing to go on video chat, which was the case with Kasal, the CEO of Orlando Chain, it piques my interest, and then I look further in, and then I consider it. So that's a little bit about me. That's how I got involved. Working third party with Orlando Chain was via the CEO Kasal. So I think that's a nice segue to speak then about the team. This is the most important piece, right? Because that's what continues the project outside of initial marketing, is what's actually happening with development. So the team that's comprising Orlando Chain is a team of 5. So I already spoke about one of them, Kasal. He's the CEO. Really nice guy as well. He was like smiling from ear to ear when he was talking about what he wanted to do here, and the fact that there's already a testnet available, which sneak preview. We're actually going to be testing that today. Hopefully we can get some time. I would love to actually test that in live time with everyone here, which is going to be a lot of fun. So he's excited about that, but he has a team of 5. They're all really friends. So 2 of them are blockchain developers that he's close with. And the rest are just folks that he's met through investing and time in the market. So they're all kind of experts in their specific field. So one is a marketing expert, that's ETH killer. Some are very good at community management and of course development. And then he had this vision for, let's create an L1 that has a high TPS, of course, is scalable, but then also leaves the door open to be EVM compatible, so that way projects that have already launched, or perhaps those that are wanting to launch and looking for that place to really facilitate their project, have a place to do that, right? And they have the tools to do so. So that's really what Orlando Chain is it's actually very simple, to the point. It's not complex. It's an L1 with some nice nested features, and a network that you can actually try out, and which we'll check out today. So I already spoke a little bit more as far as an intro, but I thought I'd give a little bit about myself, like you said, and then a little bit on the team.
Yeah, right on. And so let's jump into individual nuts and bolts of Orlando Chain. What with all the layer 1s that are currently out there, and also with the Ethereum merge coming up, and potentially the merge and layer 2s ultimately making a lot of these layer 1s obsolete, what is the team's idea behind pumping their time and resources and money into spinning up another EVM compatible blockchain?
Yeah, it seems to be kind of the rage again, right? If everyone remembers kind of what happened, I don't know, like maybe late 2020, maybe early 2021, there was a lot of excitement around, layer 1 blockchains. Like, what is this, right? Like, this is something that is really going to start to take off. Then it kind of died off, went into other trends, and now it's starting to come back a little bit. What they're seeing is there's a lot of bottlenecks in existing, or not existing, but new layer 1s that are being created, right? They promise some crazy TPS, and then once it actually scales up, it's not actually feasible. So what this project is looking to do, again, it needs to be battle tested, of course. There's going to be hiccups along the way, but they're looking to have a node approach in which you need to own the underlying token, ORL, to be able to participate in this node structure. And then, of course, you're rewarded based off of the small, the nominal taxes that are accrued on that blockchain. So really, it is kind of a traditional type of layer 1, but they're using a node structure instead of what some other projects might be doing. So it has a high TPS, but also that's not it. Of course, they're really focusing on what is going to be built on this. So a lot of L1s, of course, say we want to do this, we want to do that. Their main focus is they're not branching out too much. Like, they're not saying we want to be the place for NFT projects, for metaverse, for GameFi. They're really targeting niche down to primarily DeFi projects that they would like to launch, and is actually one of the first things they're doing is they're incubating an in-house development for their DEX, which is a Ghost Finance. So they're in-house incubating the first project that's launching on their layer 1, which is great, and that's actually going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks. So that's pretty cool to see, is not only are they launching their own blockchain, but now they also have a DEX that's going to be featured on that blockchain, not on the Binance Smart Chain, but actually on their own blockchain, which is quite cool. So I would say, to put it in a nutshell, it's the things people initially got excited for, but now let's actually see them. So that's really where the excitement lies, is let's actually see those things kind of be fleshed out and actually come to be, instead of it just existing on the Binance Smart Chain as an inroad in, and then saying, eventually we're going to bridge over. Well, no, the case here is that let's develop that blockchain. Let's in fact have it already ready for testing. Like we're going to, show the testnet today, and moving, ORL tokens from one wallet to another with an extremely low gas fee, the ability to pull from a faucet to test it out, which people can do right now, even if they're not even listening, they can try it out for themselves going to the website. But then knowing that's cool, but why does it matter? Well, they're going to be launching their own deck. So when we're talking innovation, I would say it's kind of the same things people are excited for, but now it's actually starting to happen, and it's in a timeline that makes sense. It's not too fast, but it's not too slow. Things are actually happening when they should.
Great. And give us a bit more detail about the validator structure. So I'm assuming it's delegated proof of stake. How many tokens does a prospective validator need to lock up in order to verify blocks on the blockchain?
Excellent question. Yeah, you are correct. It is proof of stake. As far as the exact amount, I believe it's 10,000. Let me take a quick peek over here just to make sure I'm telling you the right thing. Okay. You know what? I think it's in a different spot. Let me get this real quick because I want to make sure I give you the exact right amount. So I might need to come back to it. I know it's around 10,000, but I want to make sure I'm telling you the exact right amount. 4 nodes. But yeah, to answer your question, it's as simple as that. Yeah, you own the specific amount of the token, which I'm going to get soon here, and then you're able to basically be a node for this L1.
Understood. And can you give us more detail about your relationship with Cosmos?
So there's no direct relation to, because that was what my first question was, like, are you guys directly linked to Cosmos? They're just using Cosmos type technology. So really as a basically an avenue in for different blockchains to be able to interact through. So it's kind of using some of that type of technology, but it's not directly linked. That was one of my questions as well, as like, are you directly linked to Cosmos because that's a huge project, or is it more like inspiration and kind of utilizing some of that technology? It's more the second case.
Understood. And excuse me, Adam, I know that you are not officially part of the team and are just a spokesperson. So when I say you, I technically mean the team. Just clarifying that for the audience as well.
You're fine.
And Adam, what is Tendermint? It says that Orlando is based on Tendermint, and I'd be curious. I've never heard of that before, so I'd be curious to know more about that.
So I'm going to see if I can get a little bit more info on it. To my knowledge, it's just a type of node system that they're again taking inspiration from. Let me see if I can get a little bit more info. I hate doing that. Apologies, by the way. It's just when it comes to like the intricacies of like node structures and such, I don't want to just say stuff. So I want to make sure I can actually get information from the team. But I would definitely say that if you go to like the white paper, for example, if you go to the white paper, that's being built out as they go as well. They've dumped a lot of time into making sure that the tangible piece is there, and then they're actually going to be adding more and more into like the docs and things like that. So that would more be something that I would like to see personally as like an investor, right? Would be an explanation furthering like, what are the inspirations for Orlando chain, right? Like what did we pull from Cosmos? What did we pull from Tendermint? And how did we make it our own? It requires a little bit more depth, I would say, in being able to explain, but it is something that I just told the CEO would be great to be able to have, because I'll get an answer for you right now, but I don't think that's enough. Because if you had a question and I'm stuck on it, that means that there's probably 30 or 40 other people that also would have eventually had that question. So that's the purpose of these AMAs, right? Is to actually, get those things that investors would ask and then make sure there's clarity on it. So I did get a little bit here. So yeah, I was correct. So over 10,000 to become a node. So that's the starting point, is 10K. There's going to be more details, just like I said, in the white paper to be able to explain more on the validation structure and such. But yeah, so there's going to be more added. He apologizes for not having too much there right now. Again, most of the focus has been around actually bringing the tangible down to try. So, check out the test net, like let's see it versus let's fully flesh out the white paper and then begin work. The only reason why that shift was kind of done is because, and I've worked with some of these projects too, is they'll have a really, really fleshed out white paper. They'll have everything looking stunning, but it just takes too long. And especially on the Binance Smart Chain, unfortunately, it's a really fine balancing act. People do not want to wait, so you have to give them something they can touch, feel, and try, and then you can work on the rest, and then just keep coming back to releasing things, but also being realistic. So that's why, for example, the DEX is coming quick. The in-house incubated DEX is coming quick, but it's not coming tomorrow, right? Like it's still going to take some weeks, right? And then the full implementation of their blockchain is not coming, in a month. It'll be like, month and a half or potentially 2 months. So it does take time to do that, but that's kind of their focus there. So I just wanted to say an apology because I wish they were able to do both, but I also understand their mindset of like, well, we can't do both. So what do we focus on,
Adam, I'm sure we're both aware, and I'm certain the team is aware of how difficult it is to build a robust, secure layer 1 protocol. I'm curious to know how long this development process has taken and how many developers have been working on this day and night to make sure that the transition and rather the mainnet is going to be a smooth and safe experience. One more question, and I know that you're good at compartmentalizing. One more question on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Have these developers worked on prior layer 1s before, and which ones, if you have the answer to that, please?
Yeah, let me go ahead and get that question. I know that they have worked on past prior projects, specifically L1s. I'll have to see, but as far as like what the timeline looks like from testing onto full mainnet, it is going to be a few months. So if we go down, for example, to the roadmap, we're really right around this area. Most of this is done, and then we're starting to branch off here. Something different with this project is when it comes to AMAs, right? And their campaign is they've already, we just launched today, right? So just launched today, like not even but an hour ago. And they had their fair launch, a couple days ago that was massively successful. So right now, this is like an awareness campaign for the actual project. So that's kind of a cool place to be because now people can start to get excited for like, what's the future? It's not just hype based. It's focused on, what they're looking to actually do. So for example, here we can see that, we're right here, like I said. So of course, this traditional marketing things are happening. The fair launch is complete. CMC and CoinGecko listings are happening today as far as application. It takes a few days to get those. If you have some connections, if you don't, it takes weeks up to months. We all know how that works, but luckily they do have a very competent marketing, team, so they're able to kind of get the ball rolling a little there. Some other things as well, calls, so on. But the main question was, well, how long from here to here? This is going to take months. So this is going to take, I would say, 1.5 to probably closer to the 2-month mark where we're really going to have a main net launch. Now, as far as being robust, they did start coding about a month ago on this actual blockchain. Now, what's good, just to be honest, is like EVM type compatible blockchains, it's actually relatively easy to spin one up. The hard thing, honestly, is figuring out how you're going to bring in new people and how are you going to scale it properly. So as far as the bringing in new people, I think they did an absolutely excellent job in marketing to be able to get eyes on the project, right? It was trending for a while on Pink Sale. There's a ton of holders. I think more than 1,000 holders and a lot of contributions. So from that viewpoint, if I'm like an NFT creator, right? Because that's one of the niches they're focusing on, DeFi and NFTs. If I'm an NFT creator, this could potentially be a place that I would consider having my collection, right? Because you want to have the max exposure, but a limited amount of potential competitors. So if I'm listing my entire wares on a project, I'd rather go here than be lost in OpenSea, right? Because there's like, tons of different creators there with some really great stuff. I'd rather list my stuff here with some of the tools that they're building for those NFT creators. And same thing with projects as well. Like I could have an existing DeFi project that's extremely successful on BSC, but if I want to now expand, I can choose. And I've been part of marketing teams, like I said, that they're making the decision. There's that point where things have kind of idled, and you're like, well, where do we go now? Do we expand to Phantom? Do we go to Polygon? Do we go, where do we go? And usually, if you're on BSC, you're looking for other low fee blockchains to be able to expand to. Well, why not one that's literally nascent, brand new, has testing going on right now, has their own DEX that's going to be launched in a couple of weeks? That could be a place that we could consider moving into, and they're going to have development tools to help ease that transition, even though it's EVM compatible, even though the programming language is meshed well. There's still some things that are good to know to be able to integrate properly. So hopefully that answers a little bit. I know we went a little bit off track there, but just to circle back, at least a month and a half, probably 2 months. As far as how long has it been tested prior to launch today, about a month, and that's why they're doing heavy emphasis on user testing. Like try out the testnet. We're actually going to try it out hopefully here as well. So that way, if something doesn't work, we know how does it scale, how does it handle load, how does it work when there's tons of sequential transactions happening, things like that. So it does help to have that user base as well. Try it out.
So with gas fees being so low, obviously the Orlando token isn't going to be burnt at an aggressive rate. I'm curious to know what other utilities it provides with respect to the overall ecosystem. What are some reasons that users would hold it, stake it, or even utilize it to participate within the overall ecosystem?
Well, you're 100% correct. One of the great things with Orlando token is it actually has a 0% tax. If we go over to the pre-sale page, just to kind of show people, just to speak to a few things that we mentioned earlier, fantastic raise, lots of holders, 1,800 holders or so, liquidity ad percentage. But the big thing here is total supply is quite large, right? We have a billion tokens with 0% transaction buy or sell. Casal made it clear to me that's the way they want to keep it. So they're not going to be changing to a 10%, sell tax or, a 10% buy tax or anything like that. When it comes to utility, I think that what's great is if you're building an L1, I mean, that's the perfect time to implement utility. Because think about it, like you're building your own chain. If you do it right, and if you have enough people interested, and you are able to speak to the story accurately and actually show proof to it, you can have your token be the focal point of how all these things operate. So that's what they want to do with ORL chain is they'd like to have it be, integrated in the DEX, right? So part of those transaction taxes are actually going to help, support the ecosystem through, buybacks and things like that. Also for yield farming as well, there's going to be LP pairs and incentive for LP, bonding there. Also, as far as launching projects, well, there's a lot of things you can do there, and that's a bit of a ways away. But just to field some thoughts, right? They're going to have, just like a traditional launchpad would have, like Pink Sale or so on, right? They're going to have the option to do KYC, which this project also had a KYC through Pink Sale, but they're going to have the option to KYC and kind of add validity through the team, and they're going to highlight those projects. But another thing they're going to do is they're going to say, well, you can also launch without a KYC, but then you're not going to be like basically backed by the project in a full way, right? You're still going to be there on the launch list, but it's not going to be something we're supported. I bring this up because what can also be explored, and I say what can because, of course, it's in the future. Putting anything in concrete right now doesn't make sense. They want to kind of look at options. But something that excites me is the option of saying, look, with any launchpad, there's fees. We all know Pink Sale has fees. Any launchpad has fees, and they range in price. Just like the blockchain, they can charge low fees or no fees, perhaps, to those projects that choose to, pair with ORL. or that are required to hold ORL to be able to launch. And same thing with holders. Of course, it'll be a tier type system where you hold a certain amount, you're going to get an advantage to be able to buy into, new projects that are launching. So that's really what the utility is going to look like. Of course, you're going to be able to farm it, single stake LP, earn some more ORL in an APR that's, substantial, right? But of course that goes down as more people pile in. But the big thing is, the big picture is, how is it fitting into future project launches? How is it going to be, integrated in as far as like buybacks and support in the actual DEX that's being launched in a couple of weeks? Those are things that are also going to be integrating this token as well. So it's going to be kind of that central point.
So a lot of layer ones early on struggle with attracting liquidity, especially when many yield farmers are already cozy in chains like Ethereum, Avalanche C chain, Metis, Matic, Polygon, BSC, you name it. I'm curious to know if Orlando Chain has some sort of a liquidity incentive program that they're going to implement in order to attract big liquidity over to their chain.
Nothing that I've seen yet, and I don't want to speculate, right? I would say that is something that requires quite a bit of strategic planning. And I don't want to just say ideas to say ideas, because that's something that's really important. And you're right, like liquidity is everything. TVL used to be the big thing that everyone focused on. It means nothing. Liquidity is what matters, right? If you can hold on to liquidity, and if you have incentive for liquidity, you've won the game, right? You now have the ability to start to trend on, like farming sites, DeFi sites, things like that. So I did ask Asal just now to see if he can give us a little bit of a preview there. But to be honest, I don't know if there's going to be anything really super in depth that we're going to be able to give, because it is a bit in the future. Not too far in the future, but it takes quite a bit of planning. So he's just saying, yeah, I mean, the basic stuff, right? Like high APRs in both native and stablecoin rewards, but that's really just the start. I mean, when you're thinking about high incentive, the APRs only go so far. You have to also have promotion to be able to bring people in. So you have to be able to speak to, in a marketing standpoint, like security, but also the test of time. Has this project stayed here longer than a week? Okay, maybe I would consider putting in my liquidity. Otherwise, I have no interest in putting in my liquidity, because this might not be here in 2 days, right? So I would expect to see, if you're an investor, right, once the DEX launches, you're going to start to see a little bit of a push towards more development, which was seen on the roadmap as well. More development towards bringing in developers and starting to like incubate them. And once that starts happening, then there's going to be a much bigger push towards bringing in TVL, bringing in people to stake in the native token, and also stable coins as well, to get them interested and hopefully keep them. I say hopefully because it's really, really hard to keep and capture interest in, like a DeFi farming type, system. So it's a little tricky. I want to say almost like a wait and see approach, because it is quite difficult. And I would rather have the team have like a full plan to be able to speak to before that really happens. So I would say the basic stuff you would see in a regular DeFi protocol is going to happen, right? So high APRs and stables that you're able to stake in, of course, and earn ORL, that sort of stuff. But that's not sustainable. That's just the easiest thing to do. But they are looking to have further pushes towards bringing in new investors as well. It's just going to take some time to really come up with a full-fledged plan. Because again, the main focus right now, especially with a team of 5 and it's not 10 or 15, is let's just get the blockchain working. Let's make sure it works adequately, so that way we have something to show. Because like you said, there's so many layer ones. Some of them don't even have a blockchain that works, right? Or they promise all this stuff and then it can only handle like, a couple users. It doesn't make sense. So let's battle test that. Let's launch our DEX, make sure that works. And once it does, then let's come up with an entire battle plan around how we're going to be attracting, more liquidity in.
Is the DEX using a proprietary code, or is it forked from another DEX like Uniswap?
Yeah, I believe it is like a Uniswap type fork. But let me just make sure. Let's see. DEX.
And In this test, well, while you get that answer, in this testing period, what are some major bugs, flaws, vulnerabilities that your developers have discovered and rectified?
Just ask that as well. And you got the good questions, man. I appreciate this because it's one of those things. It's really hard to do everything all at once. But again, it's like meshing with what people want to see versus what's actually possible. So it's like, what do people want to see? They want to see a working blockchain. But then really in-depth investors want to see what is the long-term plan. So it's kind of balancing the two. This project definitely wants to do both well, but it does take time. So I'm going to get those answers for you. My understanding is that it is based off of a fork for the DEX, but I'll get that exact one to you pretty soon here. And then as far as like testing, there hasn't been any major things that have been found from what I've seen. This is also supported too in the actual audit that was done by InterFi. So I just went to the summary, which again I always mention. Don't do that, right? Like don't just go to the summary, but for ease of speaking to it, nothing critical, major, just one medium and a couple minor were found. So that's cool. And the fact that InterFi does manual checks as well is really good because it's not just put through a contract checker. It's not just spitting out a result and then saying everything's good, invest your life savings kind of thing. So this is something that is good to have as a support, as long with the KYC that was done by PinkSale. But outside of that, the actual testing is probably the most important. So to my knowledge, because I did ask a question on testing, there wasn't anything major found just yet. It's more so just checking load, seeing how things are working, under a lot of people testing it out, trying it out, seeing what they think. And then from there, I think the real test of this is going to be what happens when we launch our own incubated DEX on this. What happens then? Because if it can still work under load of transactions, probably much higher, then we potentially have something here. And now we can actually use this as something that we can market to developers and say like, hey, you can also come and you don't have to worry about having it be a waste of time effectively. I did just get that confirmation. I was correct. It is a fork of Uniswap, but they want to add in elements from Spooky Swap and Quick Swap as well to kind of have it be like a hybrid sort of approach. But it is based off those.
Cool. Well, Adam, that brings us to the end of the AMA. I'm kind of sad that we didn't get to any community questions, but we got to hear you speak about Orlando Chain quite a bit, and I believe our community now has a better understanding of what you guys are trying to do. Before you go, do you want to give us a quick overview for people that are just tuning in of what Orlando Chain is and what the team's future vision is for this overall ecosystem?
Well, I'd love to. And by the way, thank you so much for those in-depth questions, because those are the things that people want to understand when it comes to a layer one. I think another piece as well, and I'm just going to do this real quick because I did promise everyone, and I won't take too much time here, but I just wanted to show really quick. This is the Blockchain Explorer for Orlando Chain that's already live, so you can check all the transactions that happened. You can go to the testnet faucet. I actually already, so you guys don't have to wait for it, I already connected my MetaMask and actually requested 10 ORL from the testnet faucet. What I'm going to do in live time here, because I think it's kind of fun, is I'm going to request it in live time. So you can see I have 0. I'm going to post my address here. I'm going to request Orlando Chain. Let me see if it'll let me. I think it might not because I already requested it on my other wallet, but we can try. But either way, I just wanted to show how easy it is to be able to, request and get from the faucet over to your new wallet. So yeah, I think because I'm using MetaMask, it's not liking that I already requested from the prior one. Let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to receive. So let's go test, send. I'm going to send 10, which is the entire balance, to this other wallet. And you can see the fees are extremely nominal. They're pulling from the balance that I have. I'm going to send that. This is the first one I've ever done. Let's try it out. Okay, sent, pending, sorry. Let's see if it confirms in a reasonable amount of time. So let's see if we can actually, we might even be able to track it as well. But anyways, I just wanted to show that like what's cool is even if you're brand new, you don't necessarily need to know how to do all of this. It makes it very simple to test that out, even for someone that's extremely novice. In fact, when you connect to the main Orlando chain site and go to the DApp, it's immediately going to say, would you like to add this RPC and contract address to your MetaMask? And then all you need to do is just jump right over to the testnet faucet, paste your address, receive your tokens, and then pretty much like magic, you're going to be able to then get those tokens within 60 seconds. And then, yep, sure enough, I sent from 1 and boom, I now have 10. So I think that that's pretty awesome, right? So what I did prior to the AMA is I requested from the faucet. You saw in live time, I sent from one wallet to another. In less than a minute, we were able to receive and have extremely low fees on the tune of 0.0001 effectively. So that's pretty that's pretty exciting. So anyways, one last thing before I get into the final wrap, I did just want to say I did get an answer from Kasal. He was saying kind of an expansion of what I already stated. There were no bugs because they did extensive testing prior to actually releasing the testnet, and this is really for pressure testing. So what's being done now is mainly pressure testing. We're really going to see what Orlando chain is made of once that DEX goes live. So again, an overview. I don't want to take too much time here. I would love to get into those community questions. Is what you're buying into, what so many people, in fact, bought into, more than 1,800 holders, what they bought into in this fair launch, which, by the way, just launched on PancakeSwap right now. I didn't check the chart recently, but I think it's in a decent little dip, slightly below fair launch price, which is kind of nice, not drastically, but a little bit below. You get a little bit of a discount. Is you're getting into an L1 that is not just speaking a big game, but is letting you actually test out their blockchain. As you saw in live time, we sent from one wallet to another. You saw how easy it is to request from the faucet to test it for yourself. That's cool, but it doesn't really mean anything more than a day. What's coming next? What's coming next is they have the in-house incubated DEX that's launching in a few weeks. That is also going to be cross-chain in the coming months. And that is going to start to add in more pressure testing for this L1. People are going to be able to see for their own eyes that this is something that can be built on, that it is robust, that it stands itself apart from so many other L1s that are just trying to grab a hype that's going on and then go from there. You're going to actually start to see things develop. Then comes the hard part, which this team is very excited to actually take on, is now what do we do to attract those investors, to bring those people in and actually, start to see projects being developed on this L1. And like you had mentioned really well, actually, is, what's the utility? What's in it for me if I'm an investor? What do I get by investing in this token? Well, it's the focal point for everything in this ecosystem. You're getting transaction, incentives through the DEXs. You're getting the availability to be able to participate in launches on this blockchain as well. You're getting all these incentives. You're able to purchase NFTs. I didn't even mention that, but you're able to purchase NFTs using this token as well. This is the end all be all token for this entire ecosystem, and we just launched today. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you. Seriously, I appreciate not like the easy questions, but the questions that people want to know if they're serious about investing. And I would expect nothing less from Whale Coin Talks, but it's refreshing, Noah. So I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, right on, Adam. Well, we appreciate you coming on and certainly appreciate the kind words. Wish you the best of luck in all your future endeavors.
Cheers. Thank you so much, man.
Cheers, Adam. Take care.